Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to take a look at the MEC 9000. This one's set up to load 12 gauge. Now, in my previous reloading videos, I've mentioned multiple times that reloading is not about quantity. Well, this might be the exception to the rule. You can put out a lot of ammo with this thing. Now, when you're using one of these things, you got to be all eyes. This thing is going to screw you over the instant you're not paying attention. You'll notice how I have it sitting in a small pan, and we've got a rag. That's to help catch components that drop, powder and shot. Because the instant you don't look to see if a primer dropped through the tube, one doesn't drop. And then you have a unprimed hole and you drop powder into that, and it all leaks out. So join me today while I walk you through loading up some 12 gauge loaded up with 1 ounce of number 8s. Alright, so the first thing we'll do, we'll load up some primers. This is the smaller primer feeder. They make one, I think that'll hold 200 or so. This one I think is for 100. I don't need 100 shotgun shells, so I think we're going to go ahead and just do about 50. So what I do is turn the box upside down and push this out. And we put the top back on. And I have this small bungee here because when I didn't have it, I noticed that some of the primers, I don't know what was going on, if it was pushing up on this lid or what, but some of the primers from moving around in there flipped over on their side. And when I put this on there, it puts a little bit of pressure on here, and I don't seem to have that problem anymore. Get our bottle screwed in place. This one's for powder. It's labeled right there. This one for shot. Okay, loading up some powder. For these, I'm using 700X. It's getting harder to find, though. We'll get our shot loaded up. So right now we have our press pretty much set up. We've got the correct bushing in there, the 1 ounce charge bar, and we have just a few primers, a little bit of powder, a little bit of shot. We've got our wads ready. With this press, you don't want that. You'll want something more like this, at least. So let's run through the stations real quick on this. So this is your first station. This is going to deprime and size the hull. Station number 2, it's going to seat a primer and it'll drop powder. Next station is 3 right here. This is where we're going to seat our wad and drop our shot. And then we have a pre-crimp, a final crimp, and over here a final crimp. I don't know what that last one does actually. So let's get a hole into the first station. So we got Remington gun clubs, fired and reloaded several times, and if you've watched my other videos, I always like to give it a little twist there to make sure this ring doesn't come loose, because I've had them come loose before. So take that one, slide it into station 1. Now if everything's good, we shouldn't make a mess. If everything's not good, we're going to make a mess. So let's see. Now, it's a good time to check this. We see we did drop a primer. You want to check that every time. The minute you don't, it's going to make a mess. So if you saw that, the primer dropped in, and now the hole is in station 2. Ready to be primed. Okay, we get our next hole, check it, put it in here. Now we should drop powder this time. We noticed there was a primer there. We're ready to go on station 2 again. Get another hole, get it there, and let's check this one. So put that one back in there. And we need to remember we need to add a wad here. We've already got another hole in here. So this time this should seat our wad, drop shot, seat a primer here, drop powder, deprime, and size. Okay, so we saw the primer. Get another hole ready. You can see we have shot in that hole. Alright, so this shell has shot. It's ready for a pre-crimp. This shell, we have a wad ready to be seated, ready to drop shot. This hole, we have a primer in there ready to be seated. We drop powder. And this new one is ready for deprime and size. So we see our first hole in there has a pre-crimp. The next one is loaded with shot. This one we have to put a wad in place. This one we observe the primer did drop. It is in there ready to go. And we need a new hole in station 1. Okay, so let's get this hole in station 1 and we're ready to go. All right, we see our first shell in the last station there. Looks pretty good. See the one behind it with the pre-crimp. This one's got shot. This one needs a wad. This one we should have been making sure we were watching for a primer. It did drop. We'll get another hole into station 1. And there's our first finished shotgun shell. It does make a very satisfying sound as it goes down the chute. That one is ready to go bang. And basically you just keep doing what we just did. Keeping your eyes peeled, making sure powder's dropping, making sure shot is dropping, not forgetting to put a wad in. Definitely ensuring you got a primer dropped. Which we did. The other things you want to be sure of. Making sure you're not running out of powder. Making sure you're not running out of shot. That's why I use this smallish box here, because when it fills up, I know it's time to check powder and shot. So let's load some shotgun shells. here's why you got to keep your eyes peeled. No primer. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull a primer from up here, manually put it in there. Oops. Put it in there so I can keep going without interrupting the flow of things too much. I'm all out of primers, so the last one just dropped. So now we're not going to feed any more. We're just going to run the rest in here through the rest of the press. Totally empty. If we come down here and look at our last hull, we see it didn't quite get an ounce of shot. Always got to be paying attention. So I removed the one with the partial load of shot in there. Just removed it from the press, and we'll just finish the last two. And that's all there is to it. Load it up. 50 shells. In, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes. I was going pretty slow too. So when it's time to unload and you're all done, this does just flip back. If you have a full bottle of shot in here, I'd recommend holding it. They do make brackets for these, but just flip it over and unscrew them. Not too bad for 20 minutes work. Well, thanks for watching, and tune in next time.